Hi, Nancy Forster here, the Executive Director of the National EFT Training Institute, NeftTi, and I'm here with our wonderful graduate, Candace Fox. And Candace is a certified emotional success coach with NeftTi and a certified conscious EFT practitioner with NeftTi. She's a whole bunch of other things. She's a student in the Professional Addiction Studies program at McMaster University. She's a certified havening practitioner, so she has lots of different energy modalities that she brings into her work when she's working with people who are in the recovery process from addiction. So we're here to share a little bit about something which is very close to Candace's heart, which is the importance of psychoeducation in the process of recovery. So I'll just hand this over to you, Candace, and tell us, I know this is what you also bring to your client sessions, that you really believe this is important.
Yeah, in fact, I dedicate one full session. We might not fit all of it in one session. We might, they might not need all that education, but I usually slot a full session in, and simply because for me, I just knew once I really understood my nervous system, I knew immediately this should be accessible to everyone. Our nervous system, how our bodies function, should not be a mystery. And I think even just basic knowledge, like, we're not going to jump into the whole polyvagal theory because that's also not accessible to our clients, right? We're meeting our clients where they're at. And so they don't have that language. I'm not going to throw that language at them, but I want them just to know what is actually happening in their body, because addiction is a visceral experience. Mm-hmm. It's not just happening in the head. You get an urge, right? So it's important for me to really explain to them, also because psychoeducation continues on, and two, it is shame busting. It's our way of telling our clients, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's your responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's your responsibility, but it's not your fault.
Yeah.
And addiction is so complex. I once read, I can't remember where I read this, but this person was referring to, I think, eating disorders. And she said, it's like a meticulous, perfectly set up chemistry experience. Everything has to be in place in order for a person to, experience their eating disorder. So there are lots of things happening, behind closed doors in this body that need to happen before a person expresses their eating disorder.
Yeah.
And I think just knowing that it's not about willpower, it's not because you're a bad person, it's a lot of things. It's genetics, it's the environment that you grew up in, it's neurotransmitters, there's stuff going on in your brain, it's your nervous system, it's it might be in the gut. We're hearing a lot of cool, amazing stuff. Georgia Barnwell could probably speak that, but they're looking at maybe the origin of some addiction actually starting in our microbiome. So having these conversations with individuals is so important, so that they know, like, I don't have to wear this big, heavy backpack of shame anymore.
Yeah, that is not a character flaw, right? It's not an issue of worth or value. It's not, it is biology, and how little we are actually taught about our own humanity, about our own beingness. So absolutely essential, a huge shame busting strategy.
And I love, Nancy, when I started this journey with you, you started talking about like the biology of safety, and what that looks like. And for me, I just think about, just a little bit of switch of the words, the biology of addiction, right? Because we have this perception that it's all in our head, it's, all up there, but it's certainly not. And I think if we look at the biology of safety, we can also sort of look at the biology of addiction and sort of see where those two, where the tweaks need to be made in order for us to shift from this biology of addiction and have a nervous system that supports a biology of safety.
Yeah. Would you say, in your experience, that that shift is absolutely imperative, that that's part of every person's journey?
100%. I can say for me personally, and again, everyone's experience is different, everyone's recovery journey is different, but just the tapping the EFT recipe, experiencing safety in the body, and just exposing my nervous system to that just a little bit,
Mhm.
uh, completely changed my day. Right? Like it I never really like to disclose too much about eating disorders because, it's the sort of nitty gritty, but for anyone who has experienced, an eating disorder, you kind of get into these slumps, into these patterns where, my binge purge episodes might happen at this time of day, or, at 3 o'clock, my energy starts to wane. So then I start to binge eat. So if you can use that information and just bring in these tools,
Right.
right? Slide these tools into the places where usually you put your safety strategy. So maybe it's smoking, maybe it's drinking, right? You all of a sudden have a tangible, real tool that is not going to your therapist. It's with you. You've got your hands that you
Yeah.
can literally use in the moment. I'm getting chills right now just saying this.
Mhm.
Literally use in the moment to diffuse the situation in your nervous system.
Right.
And maybe it only buys you 30 minutes, maybe it only buys you an hour, but eventually
Yeah.
it will carry you through. Eventually it will carry you through.
And it gives you back choice and control, which those are the two things that led to the addiction in the first place, was losing choice and control. And so this simple little tapping thing, emotional freedom techniques, really is so instrumental in regaining that choice and control. Mm.
Even, for some of my clients, when you're recovering from an eating disorder, you usually try to expose yourself, on the recover path. When you've been solid, you try new foods, you go to a restaurant to eat. There are all these little milestones. And if you can sort of imagine how much of a relief it is for my clients to go into those situations, knowing that no matter what, they are going to be okay.
Oh,
No matter what, no matter what, they're going to be okay. It is a game changer. And I say this, and the words are like, it doesn't suit it, but it's a game changer and it's a lifesaver. This tool is a lifesaver.
yeah.
And I just applaud. I just applaud. I applaud, people who are, talking about this work in terms of like polyvagal theory. I applaud Gabor Mate, who is, starting these conversations like, maybe the stuff that we're used to isn't working. I applaud your work because you're bringing this conscious EFT, which really anchors into safety. And I think looking at, the climate out there, the tide is turning, it is shifting. And
Mm.
I just know that getting these tools in the hands of more individuals who are experiencing, whether it's a behavioral addiction, whether it's a substance abuse, or food addiction, I wholeheartedly believe that this is the missing link, and it is that piece of safety and biology.
Safety and biology, yeah. So what do you say to your clients about all of this?
Yeah, so I usually kind of use myself as an example. And because I'm also someone who is neurodivergent, I work with a lot of neurodivergent clients who tend to have, it's very well known in the ADHD community that individuals who experience ADHD, feel pain very differently. We could have very sensitive nervous systems. And so I usually just sort of paint this picture of my own nervous system. Um, you know, as we move along, as I moved along, younger, I just experienced big emotions. And because I wasn't able to metabolize them on my own, and I didn't have a mature nervous system, and mature does not equal adult. I just want to make sure that is very clear. It doesn't. because I didn't have a mature nervous system who could show me how to, regulate myself through co-regulation, I didn't have that. And so I didn't know what to do with all of these emotions. And so I just, stuffed them down.
Got rid of them.
I don't know where they're going to go. I'm just going to not feel them. I'm just going to put them away for later. Hopefully they go away somewhere in there.
Exactly.
And then eventually over time, right? Because we know those emotions just build up, right? And I've got this little system. I'm in a constant situation of fight or flight.
Yeah.
I've got cortisol pumping through my system. I'm anxious. I've got all of these things going on. And so how do I get all of that energy out, right? I've got to create strategies for myself.
Yeah.
My strategy was an eating disorder, binge purge activity. For someone else, it might be drinking to sort of get themselves into a place of just not feeling a numbness, that dorsal activation. And then for a lot of us, we just bounce up and down between dorsal, sympathetic. We might even get up to ventral, but that's not safe.
Right.
So let's go back down to what feels most comfortable for us.
It's this ironic place in the chronicness of this. It gets to this place which is so ironic, that what actually is good for us feels bad, and what is bad for us feels good.
And maybe not even good, but familiar. And familiar is better than not than
exactly. That's that good sense of it. Yeah.
And even, Nancy, you've created your own ladder of intensity. Obviously, I don't share that with clients, but I do use Deb Dana's body stages. So through the polyvagal. And, I literally just ask my clients, like, where do you spend the majority of your day?
Right.
Let's walk through your day. Okay, so when this happens, what is the response of you? Okay, so you get agitated, or you have to go to work, or it's late at night and you're lonely. And so, okay, so what are the activities? And then we just show it on this very beautiful and simplistic diagram so that we can see that, again, shame busting. They're just responding to their biological urge, a visceral urge to either feel something different, to not feel at all, to escape, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And that is such a big part of what we teach here at NeftTi in our, particularly our introductory programs, to really look at not just then how do you do EFT tapping, but how do you choose the interventions of EFT tapping in accordance with where that nervous system is at this point in time. But it becomes a huge part in training a practitioner, is they have to be able to assess where that client's nervous system is at any given time. Otherwise, there's going to be a mismatch, and that can then actually be harmful rather than helpful.
Yeah, and I even want to go back to that place of working with the client where they're at, working with the nervous system, and working with the addiction in terms of, initially it might not be having any sort of discussions about really anything, and just working with the nervous system where they're at, because at the end of the day, our clients can't learn anything new. They can't digest anything. They can't metabolize anything new if they're in a high state of dorsal or fight or flight activation.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. Is there anything else you want to say about just how you approach your work with your clients? And, you and I both know we're our own most important clients. So your own work with yourself or your work with your clients, about how you bring the psychoeducation around nervous system, how that impacts into with energy, how those two things come together.
I think, I try to bring the psychoeducation, honestly, in every single session, even though there's one full session, because I know that the state of my client in session 1 is not going to be the state of my client in session 5, 10. And to be honest with you, Nancy, I compare it to like our mentoring sessions in the NeftTi community. you have said stuff to me in Discover that I am only just digesting and comprehending now. And so to, to give information to our clients and to expect them to just get it on day one is just not realistic. And it's laughable because I don't even, I read books multiple times because I'm just in a different state and I can pick up different things. So I might be giving them this information and this knowledge. My number one goal is the shame busting. And then throughout our sessions, then I know that they're actually going to start to take in and use the psychoeducation. And I think, the honestly, like the biggest smile on my face is, when a client can come back into a session and be like, yes, and I knew where I was on the ladder. And so I immediately, I didn't want to, blow up, or I didn't want to go grab the pack of cigarettes or whatnot. I knew I just needed to tap in that moment. Yeah. And even when I was doing that, that research project, when I was moving through my master certification, and I was doing that research project on acupressure tapping for ADHD intervention, so many of them, even though we had been doing this work, so many of them, even the last couple of days, were like, I just can't get over how this works. Like, I just started crying. And then this one participant was stating how she got into a fight with her partner and went out into the vehicle. And then she started crying, and she was like, and literally within a minute, I was composed. And she's like, and so we were doing this project for 2 months, and they were still, losing their minds at the end at how, so again, like you don't.
I started tapping in 1995, back in when we were woo-woo days, right? Yeah. The whole Eastern philosophy thing was like, we're not going anywhere near that. And, these days having so much research and so much acceptance and so on and so on. But still to this day, with my own self, EFT takes my breath away. Right? I had an experience this past weekend where something was triggering to my dear little nervous system, and I just started to cry. And I went, well, that's okay. I'm just going to cry. I'll cry till I'm finished, and I will support myself by just tapping, what we call bronze tapping, just tapping the points to give that message to my nervous system that it's okay, it's safe. You have my permission. It's all right for you to feel these intense feelings. I'm staying here with you. I'm not going anywhere. So this beautiful place where we become that mature nervous system you were talking about for the parts of us that need it today. Yeah.
And, it's a gift to us. It's a gift to, see clients experience that. And, I have one particular client who's really going on this journey. He is, loving this journey, but it's also very different for him. I see a lot of females, so that a male going on this journey, it is very, very beautiful. But it's beautiful. And he's trying to encourage everyone in his man pack, that he calls it, and I have permission to talk about this just so everyone knows. He is, singing EFT's praises from, every corner. And it has been for him being able to connect to his younger part, and sort of having this big buddy, little buddy relationship with this part that has, changed. It changed him, and he notices that in his own system, he can feel the shift from when he's out of his, I call it secure center or mature nervous system. He feels the shift when he's out of adult mature nervous system and into, a wounded part or into child. And that is just amazing for me.
Just, it's priceless in the sense that your client stepping up and taking that responsibility for the state of his energy. And then, as you and I know, as he does that, that changes the whole energy field that he's putting into that energy field. And that benefits every single one of us, right? People in his immediate sphere, his family, his colleagues, and so on, but the world at large too. So this is a really super big deal that we're talking about. And yeah, I'm so glad that you're here, that we're having a chance to talk about this. And look forward to our next video where we'll look at a specific case study and show some interventions that you might use in the early days with that client. Thank you so much.